What's going on, everybody? Jay Howe here, and in this video I want to bring you another build for the Barbarian that has been thrown around for many years, and that's the Boulder Toss build. Now, if you're looking to clear Greater Rifts 45 with this, I don't see that happening. But what I do see is a bit of a change of pace, and I tried to make use of this with a lot of different pieces and a couple combinations that I think that might fit different people's playstyles if they want to use something like this. Now, it's been tried and tried over the years, but with patch 2.2, there's been some more changes to where I think this is actually somewhat viable if you want to play with it, especially in group play. Now, I'm going to cover the skills, some of the options you can go with, and then I'll cover the gear as far as what you're going to need to really maximize its potential, and then also some alternatives which you might actually find that work a little bit better during testing. Now, for the skills, you're going to be using Weapon Throw with Throwing Hammer, Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss, Call of the Ancients with Ancient's Fury, Battle Rage with Bloodshed, Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity, War Cry with Impunity, and for your passives, Berserker Rage, Animosity, Nerves of Steel, and No Escape. Now, Weapon Throw is going to be pretty much your Fury builder, but it's not going to be where most of it comes from. So you can go with a couple different directions here. If you want to use it to help build Fury quicker, go with Balanced Weapon. If you want to use it to get an extra bit of physical damage out of it because you're going to be using physical as your elemental, you can go with something like Stupefy, get somebody fighting on your side. The hard part with this is that it's only going to hit one enemy unless you run with something like Ricochet, which is another good option to go with. So you can go any number of directions you want here to make it work for you. I just happen to be going with this because I was testing this on some Greater Rift bosses, and this does come into play, you know, on certain single target situations, but it's just one of those things I was testing. You can literally go with whichever rune you want there. Now, Ancient Spear with Boulder Toss, obviously this is what the build is based around, and this says expend all remaining Fury to deal 20% weapon damage for every point of Fury expended to enemies within 9 yards of the impact location. Now, I have some good news and some bad news with this. Now, the best part is that the more Fury you have, the more damage it's going to do. The mechanics and the functionality of the Boulder Toss are not quite where I would like it to be. Maybe that's something that they'll address in future patches. It's one of those things to where if you're in certain areas, it's going to hit certain objects which you wouldn't think that it would normally hit. But once you get used to using it, you can actually find it to be quite reliable and quite useful. Now, Call of the Ancients, Ancient's Fury. This is the one where you're going to be using. This is absolutely necessary to have. You gain 4 Fury every time an Ancient deals damage. This is going to help you build up your Fury very, very rapidly. And again, I'll go over some of the gear that's required to make that work and how you can maximize that to a certain extent to make it work even better for you. Now, Battle Rage with Bloodshed. This is good, especially if you have everything in a group. You can explode everything, especially if you get crit hits. It's going to splash damage to a lot of stuff. The hard part is grouping stuff up. So I'll go over a couple things that you can make, how you can make that work for you. Running in a group, especially with something that's going to be grouping enemies, is also another thing. If you do find that you're not getting the splash damage you want, you could probably go with Marauder's Rage and be just fine to get the extra bit of damage there, just sheer damage out of that. Wrath of the Berserker with Insanity. This, you're going to have Wrath of the Berserker up all the time because we're going to be running the Immortal King set. So I'll show you how all that works. And running that with Insanity to get the extra 50% increased damage is too much to pass up. War Cry with Impunity. Now this is obviously just going to give you more damage mitigation. This gives you extra resistance to all elements. Now if you did want to go something a little bit differently, if you're not playing, you know, too high in terms of Greater Rifts, you could go with something like Charge and be just fine. That gives you Fury generated a little bit quicker. You go from 20 to 50, and that can give you a few more Boulder Tosses in there and be able to get a little bit more damage out of it. Now, the passives are something that you can change up a little bit. Berserker Rage. Now, keep in mind, this is a bit different. You deal 25% additional damage while near max Fury. From what I could tell in testing, this actually works, especially if you build up your Fury globe all the way or near max, that I believe that was working in terms of doing damage. Now, if I was wrong, I was wrong, but it did feel like it was doing more damage there. Now, other items you could go with, especially if you're looking to survive a little bit more, Superstition is really good to go with. Unforgiving, this helps get your fury back a little bit quicker, and I was running this for quite a while testing this, so you can run something like that, and that's going to help. You know, over time, it will come into play if you're looking to just do short-term damage over a minute or two. That's not going to benefit you too much. Animosity. Now, increases fury generation by 10%. That's good. But the real thing here is you're getting the increase of max fury by 20, which goes back to the fact that you're getting 20% increased weapon damage for every point of fury. So you get an extra 20 fury there. 20 times 20, there's the math for the extra weapon damage as far as what you'll get, which is very nice. Nerves of Steel, because now that we've got this this extra life for the Barbarian, it's really hard to pass up, and that's going to be pretty much all builds that you're going to run with, unless you're running some really casual content, or if you're just trying to go sheer damage as part of a group. You can go another direction here to benefit you a little bit better, maybe something like Ruthless for those greater F bosses, or some type of damage mitigation overall, or even something like Rampage, whichever fits your needs. No Escape. This is really good for your weapon throw and your Ancient Spear, because you're going to deal 25% additional damage to enemies that are more than 20 yards away from you. So it's good if you're using ranged attacks to stand further away, so you can start to get the hang of how far you want to stay away. Obviously, if you've been playing melee characters for a while, that 20 yards might feel a little foreign to you. But that's okay. You can run this. This is pretty much necessary if you want to be able to squeeze out more damage there with the skills. Now, for the gear, I'm going to go over a couple of options that you can go with that I found tested differently and might actually fit a little bit better in terms of playstyle. Running 6-piece Immortal Kings is pretty important. The 4-piece is the main thing. Now, 2-piece, you're getting Call of Ancients last until they die, which is great because that's where your fury is going to be coming from, or the majority of it. And then the 4-piece, it reduces the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 fury you spend with an attack. Now, I'll show you this real quick while we're looking at that. I'll go ahead and hit Wrath of the Berserker. And you got to understand, we're going to be dropping all of our fury at once, so being able to use that, and watch the cooldown on this. It's more than half, and that's just one, and then as you're in there and you're going, you can continue to spam that. But with your Ancients in there, you're going to have permanent Wrath of the Berserker, so that's really nice to have. So keep that in mind. You don't have to worry about cooldown reduction. We can actually swap that gem out for a Vitality gem and be much better off there. The cooldown reduction does help for Warcry, however, being able to get that around so that you have extra Fury boost. That extra 20 Fury probably isn't going to be as necessary as Vitality, so you can keep that in mind. The 6-piece bonus, while Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients is active, you deal 100% increased damage. That's a really nice 6-piece bonus. Now, when I talk about running something different, now the 6-piece is the boots, pants, belt, chest, helmet, and gloves. And I'll go over one important item here. Keep in mind that as a Barbarian, a Mighty Belt will roll Max Fury on the secondary, and you can see that there. It rolls between 10 and 12. So having the belt on there is very important when you're gearing, because that extra 11 Max Fury times the extra damage percent, the extra 20% there is pretty important, so keep that in mind. Now, if you wanted to get rid of something, you could go a couple of different directions, and it's going to be based around rings, it's going to be based around gloves, it's going to be based around helmet. Now, if you do opt to get rid of one of these, you either have to get rid of 2 and stick with the 4-piece bonus, or you have to get rid of 1 ring and go with Ring of Royal Grandeur. Now, we're making use of the Bastions of Will, which got revamped in patch 2.2, so that you're dealing a lot more damage when you're hitting with a primary and when you're hitting with, well, I should say a resource generating attack or primary skill, and then a resource spending skill. And that's actually going to boost up your damage quite a bit. Now, one of the things that I found with testing, obviously you want to be able to hit that second one with the resource spending attack to get that. Now, one of the ways that I managed to be able to get my Fury back in time to be able to take advantage of that 5 seconds was to run with Tasker and Theo gloves, which increases the attack speed of your pets. Now, your Call of the Ancients count as pets. Now, the faster they attack, the faster you get your Fury back. And that's one of the things I was saying. You could run with a couple different directions here. Now, during testing, I found that that actually worked, and one of the things that I was doing, now, obviously you're getting rid of the 100% damage increase, but is it going to be enough attack speed and enough fury coming back quick enough to make up for that lost damage to be able to spam your boulder toss to be able to get that there? And so I found two different directions that you could go with there. Is it worth it? Because your Call of the Ancients, the other thing to keep in mind there as well, when you have Wrath of the Berserker going, plus you have your Focus and Restraint proc, everything going there, your Call of the Ancients actually do quite a bit of damage. They go from doing minimal damage to around 40, 50, 60 million per crit. Now obviously if you lose that 100% damage increase, that's going to go down. So you can actually balance that out into where you're getting more fury. One of the other things that I tested, and I'll show that in the gameplay, is to not necessarily, especially if you're running something like T6, is to not necessarily wait till it fills up and then unload, wait till it fills up and unload. I actually found that spamming boulder toss as you have it, because if your Call of the Ancients are in there, you're actually critting, especially if you're keeping up your Bastions of Will. I was critting for 100 million crits on every single hit, 100 plus, quite rapidly. So you can keep that in mind. You can actually go that direction. Now, if you did want to go Ring of Royal Grandeur, that allows you to open up the Unity slot as well if you did want to try on some greater rifts. The other thing is having a nice Stone of Jordan in there as well. You could run with that. So the Stone of Jordan obviously would be a nice option to go with there if you didn't want to go with the full 6-piece and you wanted to go with the 4-piece bonus. You could easily run a Stone of Jordan and a Unity. You'll make up a little bit of damage there with your Stone of Jordan between the elite damage plus the physical skill damage. And then you'll also get the Unity for a little bit more survivability with your follower there. So there's a couple directions you can go, whether you want to be able to get your Fury back around quicker with Tasker and Theo, whether that 100% damage increase is actually going to be able to benefit you more than, say, quicker Fury, more boulder tosses. Like I said, there's the way that you can just go ahead and spam boulder toss over and over to be able to get that. So I'm going to let you decide which one fits you if you decide to run with this. Now, for the weapons, obviously you need the 300th Spear. This has weapon throw damage and ancient spear damage on here. Now, obviously, the higher the roll, the better. It can roll 35 to 50%. You know, the damage doesn't roll terribly high, but it is nice to have on there. If you've got an ancient one of these, then you're in good shape. The other item that I'm running, I happen to have a decent Sunkeeper around. The elite damage I wish was a little bit higher, but as you can see, I actually have a decent amount of damage on this one-hander, so it's not a bad thing to run with. If you have any type of ancient one-hander there, that's good. There's some other items you can go with as well. The sword that does the extra physical skill damage wouldn't be a bad choice either. So I'm going to let you choose which one-hander you want to run with, as opposed to the 300th Spear there. So those are a couple items you can go with. Now, for the legendary gems, one of the things that I was testing is the Simplicity Strength gem. Since I am using weapon throw a decent amount, I was testing that. Since I'm not doing a ton of damage with it, I might go another direction. But that's one thing that I was using in the meantime when I wasn't spamming Boulder Toss, to be able to get a little bit of life back and at the same time be able to do a little bit more damage. Zai's Stone is also really nice. This, benefits goes back to no escape, to where you want to be more than 20 yards away from your enemies to be able to do the max damage that you can with that passive. So Zai's Stone plays right into that. It also stuns a little bit as well. You get that 20% chance to stun, but you're going to be doing more damage the further back you are. Here's another one that you might be able to swap out the Gogok. I'm doing this because, again, our Call of the Ancients are going to benefit from our attack speed, plus we're going to be attacking quicker, which is going to help our Fury get back a little bit quicker. So being able to stack that Gogok there is nice, and then the cooldown reduction again on the Warcry, that's really going to be the only place we're going to need it. Wrath of the Berserker, I already showed you'll get that those few back pretty quickly. So you can go different ways there as far as, do you want to go with something like an Esoteric Alteration or any other legendary gem that might fit your needs just a little bit better. Keep in mind also, you can roll Call of the Ancients damage on your shoulders and on your chest piece. I don't have a decent enough chest piece to where I can, the vitality is important for me, but keep in mind the Call of the Ancients damage does go a long ways with this build to be able to do more damage. So Those are all items, again, Ancient Spear damage rolled in the right places, Call of the Ancients damage rolled in the right places, making sure you have Max Fury. Legendary gems you can swap out. Xystone is one that you're probably going to want to need 100% of the time. For your bracers, I'm running some Steady Strikers. If you have a pair of Lacuni Prowlers, those go great as well. Or you can run with a pair of Reaper's Wraps to be able to have the globes fill up your Fury a little bit quicker. But I'm opting to have this because the increased attack speed does benefit this build quite a bit. So Lacuni or Steady Strikers is good. Now, for the Paragon points, don't forget you can actually put points into Max Fury, which puts my pool currently up to 181. So having Max Fury, movement speed is going to benefit you more. So movement speed, then Max Fury, and then the rest can go into strength. But having that Max Fury, especially if you're capping that out and allowing your Call of the Ancients to do enough damage or have enough attacks basically to fill up that Fury, you're going to benefit from that Max Fury greatly. An extra 50 times the 20% weapon damage per, that's pretty nice. Offense, cooldown reduction, I forgot I was changing this around. Obviously cooldown reduction is not as important, and having the increased attack speed is more important. You're still going to want to focus on crit damage, crit chance, and then attack speed can come in after that. Defense, resist all, armor, and then life. And then for your utility, resource cost reduction, life on hit, area damage. Area damage is probably going to be your #1 here. As you can see, I was just messing around with some farming techniques, so those are going to be pretty much standard as far as how you run that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some gameplay. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind, so don't expect to absolutely walk through. But I guarantee you one thing: once you see the focus and the restraint procced, and if I do decide to have the Fury maxed out, you're going to see huge crits, over 1 billion crits with this. So we'll show you that. If you're cutting off here and you're rushing out to go try this yourself, thanks for watching. If you liked it, if you got anything to comment or add to it as well, you can add that in the comments below, because I'm sure there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of things people might be doing differently, or finding a couple items that I'm not necessarily using to maybe enhance this a little bit further. Special thanks to Nathan, who was part of our roundtable discussion, who had messed with this. I hadn't seen his build, but he's the one that motivated me to try this. Again, it's a throwback to the Diablo 2, but it's also trying to make use of this. So, but if you did like it and you want to go ahead and hit that like button, that is greatly appreciated as always. Now, if you want to stick around, we'll go through some gameplay as far as some T6 content and how we can do this. And you're going to see some big numbers, and I'll show you the difference once we get the Call of the Ancients going. And I'll show you this before I start attacking. We'll see the Call of the Ancients attacking. You're seeing like 5, 3, 6 million crits in there. Now, the minute we go ahead and pop one of our focus and restraints, now you're going to see that we're doing more damage in there. Wrath of the Berserker obviously would be a good thing to have. And now you can see that they're actually doing quite a bit of damage in there. As soon as I stop taking damage, and obviously I'm not attacking much, but you saw 41 million crit in there just from the Ancients. That's why I said you'll lose the 100% increased damage, but you can easily go with Tasker and Theos there, and you'll probably get more damage out of the attacks. But we'll go ahead and let's keep up all of our main attacks. This is one of the things, getting huge splashes. You saw 720 million crit in there. And this is what I'm talking about, in that, even when I'm standing up close and I didn't have full max fury, I did a 278 million crit in there, which is really nice. And as we drop that, we get our Wrath of the Berserker back. I just kind of threw that out there. I didn't want to hit. But you can see that I'm still doing decent amount of crits, even with low fury, so long as I have everything in place between my focus, restraint, and everything else going on. And let's go ahead and try this, just spamming this. And this is one of the things I was talking about, is not necessarily waiting for everything to come back and just letting our Ancients get in there and do a little bit of damage. As you can see, so long as I have Wrath of the Berserker up, they're doing 25-30 million damage in there, which is really nice. So you can walk through Torment 6 comfortably. You can take this into the 30s, into Greater Rifts, and run around and feel okay. Keep in mind that spacing is key. When you're fighting with your Ancients, you want them to be tanking for you, basically. That way you can be able to make use of your passive to where you're keeping damage, plus your Xystone. So having all three Call of the Ancients up, plus your Templar there as a tank, does help out quite a bit. So we'll go ahead, and you're going to see, let's see if I can get some numbers in here. I'm not sure if I'm far enough away, but That's with at max or at half fury, and you can see I didn't even let it get above 50 there. There's a nice Ramaladni's gift. But as you can see, I basically three-shot him while my Call of the Ancients went in there and pretty much wrecked him. I know obviously this is T6, right? But I did test this out in some greater rifts, and it does work. One of the things that I wanted to test was running this in a group, especially if you have something like a pole monk. I would love to be able to see and be able to get this going. So if you guys are able to experiment a little bit further, let me know how this is working for you. I mean, I think it might be a great group build, especially if you're in there getting constant 500 to 100 or to 1 billion crits. Now I didn't have any 1 billions in there before, but I do have some video that I was working on earlier, so it's all there. I promise you this does do enough damage. I'm not going to say this is going to be anywhere near the top of the leaderboards or taking into Greater Rift 45. It's just not made for that. Like I said, if you did want to run with something like a Stone of Jordan, a Unity, to be able to bypass the focus and restraint just for more survivability plus elite damage, that could be a way to go, and that could take you a step further than what I'm showing you here. So those are some of the options as far as the gear goes, and I know, like I said, there's going to be some other options you can go with. So play with those and let me know what you guys are working with. But I just really wanted to say, hey, you know, the Barb Throw Build isn't just a myth anymore. It's going to be something that you can actually use and feel good about. The minute they start fixing some of the stuff, as you can see, that boulder isn't going very far, and this is one of the things I'm saying, that it hits odd walls even when there's no walls there. So keep in mind, once you get used to it, I would highly recommend testing this before you try wasting any Greater Rift tokens. So that's it, guys. If you did like the build, if you like a different change of style, or you just like the throwback to Diablo 2, if you're one of those old school players, let me know your thoughts below. And if you did like it, if you liked the build, if you liked the video, be sure and hit that like button. Again, that's always appreciated. Till next time, guys. As always, happy hunting. See you again.